So Theresa May announcing her resignation. For more on this story, with me in our studio, we have our Brexit analyst, Alex Forrest-Whiting. Welcome to you, Alex. And in London, we have our correspondent, Barbara Weisel. Barbara, let me start with you. That was an emotional end to her address from Theresa May.
Yeah, a goodbye under tears, and that will certainly be one of the enduring images of Theresa May's time in office, because at the end, she all of a sudden showed her humanity. This politician who had been so stoic, so stubborn, so relentless in pursuing her goal of, as she always called it, delivering Brexit, who never really showed that she was involved. She didn't react to insults. She didn't react to humiliations here in Parliament behind us. She just carried on. But at the end, you could finally see that all this had gotten to her, that it was close to her heart, and that she was feeling pain, and that she finally felt that she had failed. And that is a very bitter feeling when you leave an office like that. And so this will certainly get close to the hearts of many people in Britain, because there is a certain amount of pity for her. Many people thought she wasn't up to the job, and also that she did not do a good job. It was a difficult task, and she didn't do it well. But for her to be leaving like that, it will touch many people, and it has been an emotional end.
And Alex, turning to you now, Theresa May's been facing pressure for quite a while now, going through very difficult times. Why did she make the announcement today?
Well, it has been building for several months, as you said, and this week in particular, she had crossed a line, if you like, with her party, because she wanted to put forward her Brexit bill to Parliament, but she had made extra concessions to the opposition, to the Labour Party, including the possibility of a second referendum and also promising closer ties with Europe. And that was really disliked. She saw the resignation of a cabinet minister this week, Andrea Leadsom. Andrea Leadsom, a Brexiteer, had always remained loyal to Theresa May throughout this period, but she had clearly had enough. And then finally, her backbenchers calling on her to go again. She had to go and see the head of that group, the 1922 committee, who basically said, you need to go with dignity. You need to say when you're going now.
Right. Now, we'll have more on what all this means for Brexit in just a bit. But first, let's take a look at how Theresa May's premiership unravelled.
Even when she tried to be cool, Theresa May couldn't help but look a little stiff. Her leadership style earning her the nickname Maybot. And it was with the same robotic determination that she would try and push through Brexit. When May took over the premiership from David Cameron, Britain had just voted to leave Europe. May herself had campaigned to remain in the EU, yet despite her own convictions, she would make it her personal mission to deliver a Brexit deal for the British people.
Following the referendum, we face a time of great national change. And I know, because we're Great Britain, that we will rise to the challenge. As we leave the European Union, we will forge a bold, new, positive role for ourselves in the world.
But forging that new role would prove much harder than anticipated. May's Brexit negotiations appeared to be doomed from the start. The EU, loath to see the UK leave the Union, made it clear that there would be no cherry-picking. It soon became evident that the Brexit May could deliver was not the Brexit many in Britain had voted for. An attempt to get a stronger mandate for her Brexit vision backfired spectacularly. After May called snap elections in June 2017, she ended up weaker than before, short of a majority in Parliament and forced to make a deal with the hardline Northern Irish DUP in order to govern. But May wouldn't be deterred. Smiling through gritted teeth, she carried on with the task of pushing through Brexit, come what may.
Brexit means Brexit, and we're going to make a success of it. Brexit means Brexit. I'm very clear, Brexit does mean Brexit.
Her empty phrases drawing ridicule from the opposition.
All we get is even more bizarre sound bites. Remember when we had Brexit means Brexit, then we had liberal Brexit, and now we have ambitious managed divergence.
And she got flack from within her own ranks, with several of her key ministers resigning over the Brexit issue. Finally, against all the odds and after months of negotiations, London and Brussels agreed on a draft Brexit deal. EU leaders approved it, but May failed to drum up enough support for the deal at home. At the last minute, she was forced to call off a parliamentary vote after it became clear that she would not get the agreement through. A desperate last-ditch attempt to meet European leaders followed, to try and get some concessions to make the deal more palatable to her critics, but to no avail. Mutinous members of her own party seized the moment to challenge her leadership. But May survived the vote of no confidence amongst Tory MPs. A dogged fight over her deal ensued, and Brexit was postponed. In the end, it was too much for May to survive.
Still with me, our correspondents Barbara Vasil in London in front of the Parliament, and in the studio with me, Alex Forrest-Whiting. Alex, now, people have been waiting for this moment for a while. It's finally happened. There's been a flurry of reaction on social media.
Yes, there's been a huge reaction. I'm just going to show you a couple. One is Britain's opposition leader, Jeremy Corbyn, leader of the Labour Party, and he tweeted, "Theresa May is right to resign. She's now accepted that the country's known for months she can't govern, and nor can her divided and disintegrating party. Whoever becomes the new Tory leader must let the people decide our country's future through an immediate general election," something he always calls for. And then, secondly, the former British Foreign Secretary Boris Johnson, who's already thrown his hat into the ring. A very dignified statement from Theresa May. He tweeted, "Thank you for your stoical service to our country and the Conservative Party. It is now time to follow her urgings to come together and deliver Brexit," which is what he is clearly still calling for.
And talking about Boris Johnson, just a few months ago, people had written him off.
That's right. They felt that he was not a good foreign secretary and that he became a bit of a laughingstock, particularly in many European capitals. But he's somebody who never goes away. He's still proving very popular with the Conservative Party membership. Remember, they are the ones who will ultimately decide the fate of who becomes the next leader. And secondly, many are now realising that perhaps he is the well-known Conservative figure who can take on Nigel Farage. Nigel Farage really brought about this Brexit situation. He's the leader of the Brexit Party. He's likely to do extremely well in these European elections, the results on Sunday, and many are now thinking that possibly Boris Johnson is the person who can save the Conservative Party from him.
Right, turning to you now, Barbara. When you think of Theresa May, you think of Brexit. What does her departure mean for Brexit? You've covered the story extensively for us from London.
The problem is with Brexit that even after Theresa May has left, nothing will have changed. The conditions in Brussels are the same. There they say, this is the deal, it's on the table, we're not going to reopen it. So in London, what can the successor to May's in May's office, may it be Boris Johnson or may it be somebody else, what can they really do differently? The majorities in Parliament are what they are, so they will not change overnight, and he will not overnight sort of gain the support of the DUP, for instance, the Northern Irish Party, without changing anything dramatically in the deal, which he can do. So it really is a catch-22. He needs to make changes in order to pass the deal, and he can't really make those changes because Brussels is against it. So what is the obvious way out of that situation? A hard Brexit. So many are now expecting that Boris Johnson or another successor to May might probably just take the easy way out and just slam the door to the European Union and walk away and sort of not care about the economic and political consequences in the first instance. That, of course, is going to cause a lot of pain on both sides of the channel, particularly in Britain. And it will be very difficult to sort of live down that decision. So nothing good in the near future with regard to Brexit for the man or woman who follows Theresa May in office.
Right, Barbara Vasil outside the British Parliament in London. And analyst Alex Forrest-Whiting, our Brexit analyst. Thank you both very much for sharing your perspectives with us. So we heard what Barbara had to say about Brexit. So how is it going down in Brussels? I put that question to DW's Brussels Bureau Chief, Max Hoffman, and asked him if there'd been any reactions to news of Theresa May's resignation.
We've had some reactions by now from leaders in the European Union. They're not really saying anything about the course forward. So you have, for example, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, who's acknowledging the decision with respect and still hoping for an orderly Brexit. So nothing's really changed there. You have Leo Varadkar, the Prime Minister of Ireland, who, of course, his country has the most to lose from an inorderly Brexit, and basically saying that there are a lot of things that will withstand Brexit because the two countries are close partners. The only one who was a little more precise so far was the French President, Emmanuel Macron. One of his spokespeople said that they needed clarity about the future Brexit course of the UK as quickly as possible. All right, you might say we've heard that one before, and it is true, but it tells you something that a certain urgency is felt once again here in Brussels.
And all of this comes in the middle of European elections. Britain actually voted on those elections, yesterday. Now, what impact is this political turmoil in the UK had on the campaign?
Yes, it is again overshadowing some of the topics that Europeans actually think are important. If you look at the list in the polls, what Europeans want to talk about, you have unemployment, jobs, youth unemployment especially. Some say it's migration, some say it's climate change, and it's not Brexit. But still, this is a topic, as you can see right here, as we are sitting here talking about this, Rita. Brexit always makes the news and overshadows everything else. But there's one good point for the rest of the European Union. It seems to have forged everyone a little closer together than before that. At least if you look at the approval ratings for the EU in the EU 27, so all the countries except for the United Kingdom, then the approval ratings for the EU have gone up continuously across the board ever since Brexit happened.
Right, Max Hoffman, DW's Brussels Bureau Chief, thank you very much.